that doesn't mean they weren't sexually active. They wasted valuable, fertile years, acquired a bunch more baggage, more bodies, and they've essentially set themselves up to be less fulfilled by a relationship that could actually work and be real. And the man that she eventually settles for, he ends up with a woman who is past her peak and who believes he's just good enough to help her avoid dying alone. But the truth is, she didn't actually settle. She was just so corrupted, so entitled, and so disconnected from reality from the jump that the only thing strong enough to bring her back to reality was the fear of dying alone. So let's imagine a world where men did something similar. What men tend to value is youth, beauty, and fertility, things rooted in biology and reproduction. So let's use waist to hip ratio, which is a cue for reproductive success, as our comparison. So imagine if men started doing this with a specific hip to waist ratio. Not just preferring women with a smaller waist than hips, but getting so strict about it that he had a precise ratio number in mind. He only wants to date women who match that number, and all other women are invisible. And every once in a while, he finds one, but he never manages to actually make her his girlfriend. Then, as his sexual market value starts to drop, he lets go of that specific ratio and he settles for a woman who doesn't meet the standard he swore he needed. He has set himself up to be disappointed from day one. It's already the case that women tend to have a lower hip to waist ratio than men, so that preference makes sense in general. But when it turns into a hyper-specific measurement, people would absolutely question his mindset. We'd say he's superficial, immature, obsessed with something meaningless. And that's exactly what's happening with these women in the 6-foot rule. They actually don't get made fun of enough for it. And so it just gives me another reason to say just the absolute state of the modern woman. They are ridiculous, and women like her, very, very superficial and hyperfixated on a stupid number. So, moving on a little bit, she did bring up this podcast and how it humbled her. So I started listening to some of it, and as I mentioned earlier, it's absolute garbage. But I'll play a clip for you. So here's a couple mainstream puppets saying things like, there's nothing scarier than a single man.
And as Scott says, there's nothing scarier than a single man, a young single man. And so we are just creating a lot of these angry young single men who are saying, well, this is rigged against me. And so that's why I am worried about the rise of people like Andrew Tate. And if we wonder, where are the dads, where are the men? Well, men are finding these father figures, but they're finding them online, and they're not the father figures that I would choose for the majority of men. And so I'm really worried about this, because I feel like women are saying, guys, you need to step up because I can provide and I don't need that from you. And guys are not prepared to rise to the occasion.
Who gives a fuck what kind of father you would choose for the majority of men? It's like we're doing an experiment right now, testing if women can be fathers for children, and it's failing massively. Letting females determine masculinity does not work. But here, we've got another mainstream podcast pretending to care about men just long enough to blame them for everything and shit on them. They're sitting there having an entire conversation, like trying to decode men and figure out what's going on with them, and they're coming to all these silly conclusions while spewing the same rhetoric that's actually pushing men further away. Maybe the problem is you're saying stupid shit like, there's nothing scarier than a single man. Are you retarded? And of course, they pivot straight into Andrew Tate. Like his popularity just came out of nowhere, with no context, no reason.